I called it the money flow because it's how money flowed in my life. And it's how I became a millionaire in 8.2 years. Yes, man. Welcome back to the channel. Hey, and you guys, welcome here. There's some people here with me. This here, what you see behind you, is basically the diagram of the book I wrote, You Don't Have to Die Broke. This is my blueprint. This is along the way. None of this is proprietary. I didn't invent any of these phrases, the platform, the wells, the buckets, none of that. This is stuff I've picked up along the way on my journey. And I began to, list it, write it out, codify it as a blueprint so I could give it to other people and save them the hassle of fumbling along and hopefully share some information. And also for myself and to preserve it. And I called it the money flow because it's how money flowed in my life. And it's how I became a millionaire in 8.2 years. You're going to be familiar with a lot of this, such as the ES and the BI. That's from Robert Kiyosaki in his famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, where Robert talked about basically we're in one of four quadrants. We're an employee, we're self-employed, we're business owners, or we're investors. Often you're going to be in 2 to 3 quadrants. Shit, I've been in all 4 at one time or another. But basically, what Robert talks about is whether you're an employee, whether you're self-employed, or whether you're a business owner, you got to get your money to I, which is investments, because that'll produce passive income that'll also protect you and your family. And that's what this is about when we begin to do what I call the money flow or the buckets in chapter 1 of the ebook, You Don't Have to Die Broke. And it's broke down that everything starts with a job or your income source. Everyone makes money somehow. Even if you're homeless, you're panhandling, there's an amount of money. If you're on welfare, you're getting money from the government. Everyone gets money from somewhere, and that's where it starts. And that's the beginning of your money flow. And the moment it touches your hands, a couple things are going to happen. One, the government wants a piece of it. And this is one reason we have to be educated in finance. Just today I was dealing with a guy, sold a house, wasn't even thinking about the tax consequences. And it's like, man, you can't make big decisions like this without learning the tax code. You shouldn't need to call your accountant when in the world of Google, when you can just Google, is this tax deductible? Or what's the most tax advantage way to do this or do that? Taxes are going to be one of your biggest expenses, especially as you begin to make more than 6 figures and we get into the world of investing. We have to become super conscious of taxes. Matter of fact, you probably do better to spend more time on taxes than you do on investing. And don't rely on your CPA or your accountant, because they're not necessarily working the same cash quadrant as you are. They're going to try to save you money on your taxes this year. That may not be the best play long term, okay? So this is a lifelong study. But we all get money, we all have income, we all have a job. All of that money first goes to bucket number 1, necessities. Now this is where people get tripped up. This bucket here, it's got a hole in it, bro. And money's just going through it. Some of these things you can't fix. Electrical bill, can't fix it. Insurance, gotta have it. Gas for the car. Some of these things, you have no choice, whether you're rich or poor, you have to have these, and that's a hole in the bucket. But also in this bucket are liabilities or debts. These you can control, okay? And the goal is, we don't want to make the hole any bigger than it's got to be. Otherwise, we can't fill the other bucket. So the concept is you're getting money from the well, which is your job or income, and your goal is to fill all of these buckets. But you need to do it in order. And what I saw in 2008 crash, when it was a 2-year bear market, things were bad. And what I saw as it wore on and eventually people were let go and they had overpaid for their house, they got an FHA loan, they got a VA loan, they put 3% down. That's why I'm always screaming about that, because it doesn't make you an investor. See, when you put 3% down, what you're doing is taking on massive liabilities and you have no equity in the property, which limits your exit plan. So we got to make these decisions wisely. When you buy a home, it's wisely. When you buy a car, it's wisely. When you invest in the stock market, it's wisely. Take your time. Do these things with like a turtle. Research them. Make sure you're doing the right thing. It's so important. So our first goal is to understand how much money we're making and see, can we increase that? Your first goal all the time isn't good investments. It's make more money. Because by nature, if you make more money, then less money drips out the necessities bucket. Does that make sense? So making more money solves a multitude of problems and it fills up the buckets faster. So we know we got bills that we can't do away with, and then we have debts that we do have some control over. Your first investment always, in my opinion, is to eliminate debts. There's zero reason to be investing in the stock market when you owe a bunch of money on student loans. There's zero reason to do this. Like, you're just not going to get anywhere. And back to what I saw in 2008 is, this is what people did. They made money, they had debts, and they put money in investing. And when the shit got hard, they never worked on the protection or the debt-free plan. So the moment they lost their job and they were over-leveraged in their house, they blew out and they had to take 401k loans or get out of the stock market. Never, never, never borrow against your retirement. Never, 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 even to buy real estate. Don't do these things. You've got to make wise decisions. So understanding the money flow and how money flows and doing it wisely, I mean, when you begin to apply that over a 5-7 year period, that's how I became a millionaire in 8 years. It wasn't because I was good looking or intelligent or made a lot of money. It was just the way that I handled the flow of money, okay? So bills, and this is money going out, and we all have this. We got to do our best to plug this hole. As soon as we do that, we can move over to savings. I don't want you to look at savings as the emergency fund, because it tends to find an emergency. I want you to look at it as protection. It's insurance. You're self-funding yourself against the worst possible outcome. And yeah, maybe a good rule of thumb is you start with 3 to 6 months of expenses. That's fine. But I want to go bigger than that. I want to invest into savings. I want to invest into protection. Maybe we'll get more into that later. Down the road, that looks like you pay your home off. Because see, if you have a paid-for house, there's a lot of protection there. You can get the money back out. If you pay your house off, they'll give you the money back with an equity loan. They'll give you the money back when you sell the property. The purpose of the protection debt of loan, which includes being debt-free, a debt-free real estate, the purpose of that is the do-over. It's not only just to protect yourself from 3 to 5 months, it's the do-over. If you were to blow out, lose your job, got to move across the country, you have some means to start over. And if you have a paid-for house, you could sell that, harvest all that money tax-free, and go move into an apartment or a condo, and you'd have plenty of time to start your life over. That's what that's about. We'll get more into that later, but this takes time. The next one we get into is investing. People jump to this way too soon. They still have debts, they don't have any protection going, and they jump over into investing because they think investing is the answer. Investing is not the answer. Investing is the answer once you plug the hole in debt, build up the savings, and you have the income up. Then investing is the answer. And I see a lot of people, start early. Yeah, because of the concept of time times amount times yield. But starting early with little chunks is not going to do you any good. You put $100, $100, that's nothing. If you plug your debt and you ain't got no debt, you could do $3,000 a month, $3,000 a month. You see what I'm saying? In 1 month, you could do what that guy did in a year. So we got to get to a point where we're not investing little baby sums. We're investing big sums as an entrepreneur, right? Employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. We want to be able to do it in such a way that it makes a meaningful difference in your life, not little sums. Now, if your plan is to work to your 65, do the normal thing everybody else does, have a little in savings, have a bunch of debt, have a little bit over here, and just live a average, mediocre life of a little bit, then ignore everything I'm saying. Everybody's on track to do that. What I'm talking about is entrepreneurial investing, where you could quickly build a base to where you have a net worth of $1 million in 10 years or less. And then in 20 years, you're worth $4, $5, $6 million. And that makes life much easier in your 40s and 50s when you have $1 million than if you don't, trust me. So, we covered protection, and we need to do these things in order. When we get to the investing, there's not one size fits all. You hear people say index fund only. Index funds could be your answer. I got a good buddy. He aggressively invests in real estate. He's worth millions of dollars in real estate, and every month he puts money in an S&P 500 index fund. Not a bad move. He's not interested in stocks. He's not like me. He doesn't want to sit around reading company reports and looking for good stocks and adding. He's not doing that. Okay, he's a real estate guy, but he is investing, and he's investing in real estate. And he recognizes that stocks are valuable, and he recognizes the value of his own time, and he has skills. Time times amount times yield. Yield is how much an asset yields. Well, you can affect yield with skills. So if you are a good stock picker, you could beat the market. If you are good at finding real estate or analyzing deals or remodeling properties, you can beat the market. And so your skills play in when it comes to investing, your natural skill sets. And if you don't want to sit around reading about stocks, then that's the index fund, okay? But then, and so there's a lot of things you could invest in, but there's also very few things. And basically comes down to real estate. Inside of real estate, we got single family, land, commercial properties. You get as complicated there as you wanted. And then there's stocks, individual stocks, ETFs, funds, REITs, closed-end funds, business. Each of these have subsectors, and you can go as deep and down the rabbit hole as you want to go. But here's where it starts. One, you own a house. Now you have equity in property. When you go through that process, you understand how to deal with realtors, contractors, how insurance works, and you've learned an abundance of things that now you can take that exact information and go apply it and acquire more properties and more houses, right? In stocks, you probably know way more than you think. You work somewhere. Well, that company uses other companies. Well, boom, now you have a relationship with other stocks. If you open up your cabinet, you have a relationship with stocks. If you go in your bathroom, you have a relationship with stocks. If you walk into a house, you have a relationship with real estate. So don't make this stuff complicated. It's super easy. The money flow is super easy. Becoming a millionaire is simple. It's just a formula. It's just math. It's not necessarily easy, but it's simple. So think on this. Go back and read chapter 1 of my book, and you'll see what I'm talking about, the flow. Think on the cash flow, or the quadrants. What are you? Are you an employee? Are you self-employed? Are you a business owner? Ultimately, we all need to be investors, but before we become investors, we got to work our way through the buckets. And then ultimately, there's only a couple things you can even invest in yourself. That would be like acquiring new skills, nice clothes for your job, might help you sell better, transportation. There's times to invest in yourself, okay? But the goal to invest in yourself is to what? Increase income. If your investment in yourself isn't going to increase income, then it's not really an investment, okay? Number 2 is business. You can own one, meaning you're an entrepreneur. If that's what you do, that's great. That's the fastest way to get rich in America. But outside of that, we want to invest in stocks because that's other people's businesses. So we invest in ourselves, we invest in business, and then number 3, real estate. Don't make it that complicated. It really comes down to that. And so you need to understand each of these parts of the money flow. And when you understand all of these parts and you do them in their proper order, a lot of people are doing them out of order. And so you're not going to have the effect you're looking for because they're investing a little bit, they're saving a little bit, and they're paying on their debt a little bit. And none of these are you doing in any kind of big enough way that it makes a difference. So kill that debt. Get fucking rid of it. And then build that savings. And then move to investing. And the whole time you're doing it, try to increase income. And if you get through that process and you increase income, you're going to have so much money to invest. You're going to rocket ahead of other people. And then you can do like I did, 8 to 9, 10 years, you're a millionaire. And now, yeah, you're not balling out and living on jets, but guess what? You have plenty of options. And when times get tough or when you lose your job or you need to relocate or you get tired of what you're doing, you now have the means in which to go pursue what it is you want to do. And that's the whole purpose of this, man.